Welcome, I'll be reacting to Outlander, Season 3, Episode 10. This is not a market substitute, support the original. Jamie's like... It's so funny being on so many people's sides right now because I would totally be doing what Jamie is doing in his shoes. I would also be doing what the lieutenant is doing in his. I don't know who to root for.
They have my wife. Do not follow! Stop, men! Away aloft! Everyone, make sail!
No! You're the supercargo. You can't give orders.
That's not enough sail.
All the sail we can safely carry in this wind.
They're getting away, damn you!
The porpoise.
Jamie, go below.
More dying every day. Captain Leonard requires a surgeon for the duration.
When the captain of a 74 asks you for a surgeon, you give him a surgeon.
I've more than your wife to think about.
We just had our answer. It's a 74, which means large third rate. I was right. Okay, sorry. Anyone who survived my review from last episode? That's mutiny, Jamie. Stand down.
Mr. Warren, restrain Mr. Fraser and take him below.
Yeah, I'm on the captain's side right now. I'm sorry, Jamie. That was wrong. You cannot afford to undermine discipline on a ship. Well, at least they're swabbing now. It's mild improvement. That's probably Claire.
More room to house the infected men. Now let's get to work.
Lady doctor giving me orders.
What was that?
Nothing, sir.
It's Captain's orders, Jones. You're to do as the doctor says and pay her every respect.
I feel like I'm in a Hornblower episode.
Why do we dip our hands in grog?
Because we don't have any pure alcohol.
Decontamination. Don't... that defeats the whole purpose.
Just a taste of grog, madam.
The alcohol kills contaminants that spread the fever, Mr. Pound. By dipping your hands in the grog, you clean them, but by putting them in your mouth, you fouled them again. Dip them again.
Can't really blame him, though.
Thank you.
Would it be helpful, madam, if we had someone as knew how to distill pure alcohol from rum?
You catch on very quickly, Mr. Pound.
We have 2 men pressed into service under the old toll booth in Edinburgh, jailed for distilling illicit whiskey.
Perfect.
Shall I put them to work in building a still?
I think you shall. I'll speak with the purser about putting the men on half rations of grog.
1 gallon a day. However, it should be explained that this was not what we know as a British gallon, but a wine measure. In other words, it was equivalent to a regular American gallon today. Anyway, it was only 2 to 3% alcohol. So that's why it's important for Claire to be doing that distilling. For example, when the beer ran out on stations where it was not available, official preference was for wine. Often this was fortified, such as brandy. The official issue was a half pint of spirit equaled a gallon of beer. In the West Indies, it was rum. They had cocktails that they made. The bumbo was rum, water, and sugar and nutmeg. The flip was rum or brandy mixed with the beer and sugar and heated with a hot iron. Due north meant plain spirit. Due west, just water. Northwesterly was a half and half. And if your glass was empty, it was southerly. So they're probably about to have all the men grumbling. Just keep this in mind. We're still talking about half a gallon of alcohol a day.
We can set a private of Marines to guard them.
It's Captain's orders. The doctor must get whatever she wants.
But I suppose as we're only 250 leagues from Jamaica now, it can be done. How many casks will you require?
How many men would you like me to save?
Aww. It is so clean in here now. Remember what it looked like last episode? Huge improvement.
You can touch the sick if necessary, Mr. Pound. But when you're down here, you must never touch your face or your hair or even your clothes. Not until you've washed
We
your
all
hands.
know that now.
You are a very impressive young man.
Claire's gonna get a fan following at this rate. It must be so hard for her knowing that in her time period, she could save them.
I need to know the first reported case of the disease.
Would have been 4 weeks ago. Here, Ben Cole.
I just paused because this is beautiful handwriting. So gorgeous. Wonderful job reproducing the handwriting of the era.
The names will be here.
Nice detective work, Claire.
What is this?
Discharged
CD.
dead / deceased.
Discharged dead, madam.
All of them?
Yes. All but one. Joe Howard. No, he was never ill. He was reassigned on account of the deaths. He works in the galley now with Mr. Cosworth, our cook.
Oh no, that's the worst reassignment ever. 'Cause he can just pass it along in the food. And the galleys on these ships are, well, normally tiny. They've been consistently making them larger for the sets, I'm guessing so the cameras can get around. Some of the ship's galleys I've been on, basically, if you're the one cooking, if anyone wants to walk past you, you have to, like, so they can get by. It's that little amount of room.
How can he be the source of the disease?
A man can still have the disease without showing any signs and still pass it to other men.
She's speaking gibberish. She already has me dedicating all my pots to boiling water. Men are still dying.
Well, they're dying because the source of the disease is serving the food.
A man is either sick or well as anyone can see.
Just because it's beyond our comprehension, Cosworth, doesn't make it less voracious. We must believe her.
Not having the cook on your side, not a good thing on a ship. Each mess had a pudding bag with some sort of tag with the number of the mess. It would be used for cooking the peas, the meat, and the vegetables. So basically, you would get the allocated food for your mess, your group of people, and then you would go pick it up. So you would look for your number, say it was 7. That's also where the tradition came later of who shall have this, where one person would be sitting there and go, all right, here's a piece. Who shall have this? Someone would shout their name. You put it in there. That way, no one always gets the biggest piece or whatever. You know how you have kids and there's a birthday cake and they're like, hey, Tommy's piece was bigger. To avoid this, in my family sometimes, we used the Navy method of who shall have this. It worked swimmingly. Highly recommend it if you have kids. While yes, the galley cook does need help, not as much as you would think. The men were a lot more in charge of their own food than just walking along in line and getting food like we think of today.
5 minutes.
I actually used to have a pudding bag that I could have showed you, but I think I got rid of it last month because I stopped making puddings with my diet.
It's very close.
Get the keys from Reeds. Set me free.
And do what?
I'll take the ship.
Take the ship!
Make all sail.
Jamie!
Mutiny. Can't work, my lord. The crew are not yours. They will not follow you.
Some will.
No. Fergus, please talk sense into him.
I see I was right to withhold my blessing from you.
Oh, don't pull that.
Proves you that I ken what love is. You'd risk arrest and death. Even hell.
I don't think that's love, Jamie. I think that's obsession, and it's unhealthy. Don't listen to him, Fergus. He's just raving.
The last stitch must go through his nose, madam. To be sure he's dead.
Yeah.
It is always done by a friend.
Tradition. I was wondering if they would put that in.
art in heaven,
Hallowed
be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done,
on
on earth as it is in heaven. And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Amen.
Amen.
But with any luck, we'll get through it.
Begging your pardon, madam, but after 3 days of watching you at your work, I do not think much of it will come down to luck. But if it is to be luck, then you should have this.
So
My
cute.
own mother gave it to me as a boy before I left on Triton. Luck and health, she said. She is dead, madam. May God rest her spirit.
He's as cold as ice. It's not fever. When did the symptom...
Oh, he's just drunk.
Oh, they're stupid, foolish.
Madam?
Half the men on this fucking ship are dying of typhoid, and this bloody fool has almost drank himself to death on the alcohol I need to stop the goddamn fever from spreading. Where did that come from?
Well, 2 weeks ago, we boarded a Portuguese frigate in search of a surgeon.
What was the name of the ship? Was it the Bruges?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, the ship's log should tell her.
Portuguese frigate. Harry Duncan, naval seaman, tells me that Alexander Malcolm wanted sedition. I was seen aboard the Artemis. I have deduced that he means the man I met, Jamie Fraser, obviously going by an alias.
I don't like you, madam. I don't trust you either.
Oh, good job, Claire, putting the chair between you and him.
I have the captain's best interests.
What do you think would happen to her if everyone she's connected to is part of a mutiny? No one to stop them now.
You're just like him, you know. Stubborn. Once you give your word, you'll never break it. Thank you, gentlemen. You can go. You too, Pound. You're asleep on your feet. Go get some rest.
You're his wife.
Yes. I am.
Claire, what are you planning?
I reckon I'm fit to be promoted. Instead, I'm pressed into service on a ship full of disease. So go ahead, yeah? Here's my neck. Guess what we found the day before the press gang got me? In a cask of creme de menthe, it was.
You said it was a bad location for it.
My husband did not kill that man.
I did.
Warrants say otherwise. I've told the captain he'll write a report as soon as we land in Jamaica.
Oh, the manger.
I hear you.
I'm glad we're getting some scenes here.
Yeah. I'm afraid he's going to be in trouble when he arrives in Jamaica, and I've no way to warn him. In fact, I think they're going to try and use me as bait. I don't know what to do.
Oh my God, it's gas. Oh.
She goes ashore.
I know you want to give us your blessing now, but... You asked
Good
me if
for
I would move
Fergus.
heaven and earth for the woman I love, and I will. Even if it means I cannot marry her. I do this for you as well, my lord.
This is like that scene in Harry Potter. It takes even more courage to stand up to your friends. And that's what he did right here.
No one begging Christ's mercy for a quick death. Just sleeping men. We're over the worst of it now.
You better knock on wood fast. Good old Nancy Dawson. He didn't make it. He was a good kid. Is she gonna go through the nose?
Your mother will be so proud.
It should be done by a friend.
Land. You can always smell it before you see it.
Jamaica.
No, madam. But we'll reach the Grand Turk in the forenoon tomorrow. We'll have water for the men.
And grass. Oh, my goats.
They're almost out of water. Is there water on Grand Turk Island? It's mostly salt evaporation ponds and saline lakes. Little rain and no freshwater springs. So they get their water from rainfall. Well, that won't help them when they're anchored there. Oh, that's too bad. This is extremely foolish. I'm sorry.
I had not thought that you, our doctor, would disobey my orders to not wander.
No, I was looking for herbs.
In the direction of the port.
Am I?
But I'm duty-bound to report your husband's crimes to the authorities in Jamaica.
And from the acting captain's perspective, he is a murderer and a traitor. We know the circumstances of all that, but he doesn't. I can't really blame him for wanting to turn a criminal in. I'm lawful good, madam.
Marines, kindly escort the doctor to the ship. She seems to have lost her way.
At least he has the photos. He should have kept to the plastic bag, though.
Ask him to give you his word. Once he gives it, he'll never break it.
What you doing, Wes?
Saving you?
Give him your word.
I really like her. Like, she understands what the situation is here, and Jamie does not. And she's half his age, or less.
You have my blessing. You can be married in Jamaica. By a priest.
Jump.
It's a long way to swim.
I know water. Water will move you. Huh?
Current.
Take you, Goben. Take you, Goben. The ship's not far. Come. Go now.
I mean, they were changing the watch, so they're distracted temporarily. It's now or never. Claire, just do it. Yeah, get your clothes off. Let's go! YOLO, Claire! I absolutely loved this episode, partly because it felt less like an Outlander one, and more like Horatio Hornblower. Most of all, I'm so proud of Fergus right now for standing up to Jamie when he was being silly, and also Marsley. She recognized that if that family gave their word, they absolutely meant it, and that's how she was able to get him free. So oddly enough, I think they are really a power couple. Losing Mr. Pound was difficult, but not unexpected. To be honest, when he started feeling really tired all the time and they started putting that makeup on him, I was kind of suspecting they might go the route of having him catch the disease. As heartbreaking as losing him was, it was not a surprise. Let's look into the goats for a bit. Here's a fun fact. A 28-gun frigate, which is much smaller than this one, would have somewhere in the region of 100 pigs and goats on board, meaning 200. So a much larger vessel like this, that manger should have had way more animals in it. Now, maybe they had eaten most of them by the time of this episode, because they were having supply issues, but still, there should have been a few more animals in there. Between 1793 and 1800, the Victualling Board also experimented with mixtures of wheat, molasses, potato, or wheat, molasses, and barley, which apparently tasted rather like gingerbread. The carpenter built the pens for sheep along the center line, usually between the capstan and the main hatch, so the lower section of the pen could be pulled out for easy cleaning. Pigs, however, needed a more solidly constructed sty. They were traditionally under the forecastle. The pigs seem to have been allowed to go for a run at intervals. There are journal reports of them wandering the deck and eating clothing. Sheep and pigs sometimes were also housed in the manger, the area around the hawse holes where the anchor cables came inboard. The manger was separated from the main deck by a solid barrier to keep water from the cables swilling around the deck. Oh, and there were cattle as well, just it was more difficult to deal with them because they're larger animals. The officers had a wide range of livestock on board, including chickens, ducks, geese, turkeys, and so forth. Goats generally belonged to the officers. However, their milk was often used for the sick, like in this case in the episode. It was also common practice for delicacies from the officers' tables to be sent to the sick. In general, however, they would have been given soft, non-challenging food, like a meat broth or soup, soft puddings and gruels. My only regret with this episode is that it takes us off the ship, and presumably Claire is going to make it to land and go on her own adventures. I would have enjoyed an entire season on this. Actually, you know what? Just bring back Hornblower. Ioan Griffith is at an age where we can do the later books now. Just bring him in as an admiral. His wife can play Lady Barbara. Come on. Somebody throw money at Ioan Griffith, please. That being said, this was highly enjoyable and definitely a highlight of this season.